You probably have never played this game before. I had never played Jammer Lammy until I decided to go through all the Parappa games. Jammer Lammy being a spin-off of the Parappa franchise, and I should have kept it that way. I shouldn't have played it, as my hand will never be the same. And to save you the time and frustration, here's what's up. Jammer Lammy, as previously stated, is a spin-off title of the Parappa franchise, where instead of spitting bars, you are a lamb that plays the guitar. Absolute killer rhymes right there. Anyway, they made it harder, somehow. There's a single mechanic, hit the buttons when the head goes over them, and they somehow managed to make it harder, more frustrating, and even more time-consuming than the first game, that being Parappa. How did I manage to do this? The gameplay! The gameplay is pain, and lots of it. This game takes the trial by fire method of learning. It just kind of throws you in. Like, yeah, they'll be fine. What's the worst that could happen? It starts you off with something not that easy, but not that hard. I still failed this level a couple times, but it wasn't that bad. It was just the average rhythm game. Except for one thing, this game just isn't fair. See, when you play any other rhythm game, except for Nana Onshas, you usually have some sort of real-time scoring. In Friday Night Funkin', you have a real-time score. You can tell when you mess up, as the game will tell you. In Guitar Hero, you know when you miss notes because the game will show you. Jammer Lammy, you do the whole line of notes, and the game tells you whether or not it thinks you did it wrong. So you could have just messed up one note and got shafted for it. But you also don't know which note you messed up. It could have been this one, could have been that one, but who knows? The game knows, but you never will. But for some reason, the game also just lets you pass even after fucking up tremendously, so it's literally a wild card type of system. You either fuck up and get rewarded, or fuck up and get punished. I can tell you this much though, it picks one over the other most of the time. But luckily, this game has one big crutch. The music. Well, this game is a rhythm game, and what's a rhythm game without music? See, the music in Parappa is nothing insane, except for the end song. They are more on the line of iconic. But in Jammer Lammy, that shit started boiling. Music in this game is the only thing that held onto my sanity while I was playing. The music goes from almost punk rock to soul music, then some Elvis Presley type beat, some wicked heavy metal, a bit of rockabilly, and then some weird ass pop, and then finally just normal rock. The music seems to have been fully based around the instrument that Lammy uses, the guitar. Instead of them just throwing a guitar in some random ass music, it is all audibly pleasing, and all the music is actually rather catchy. All of this music was picked for one thing though. Lammy is the lead guitarist for a rock band called Milk Can. After sleeping for too long due to her dreaming, she only has 50 minutes to get to her concert, so you start to run out of your home and onto the street. But coincidentally, there's a fire, and the street is blocked off. And the firemen won't let you pass unless you help them put out the fire, so it looks like you're gonna help them. So after you put out the fire, you're rewarded with some swag-ass pizza. But now you only have 11 minutes left to get to your concert. So you scuttle off on your way to the airport, but then you're stopped by some weird maternity dance thing, and are mistaken as being pregnant by this caterpillar gummy bear album sounding thing. So they pretty much kidnap you, and after realizing that you weren't pregnant, they force you to make the kids go to sleep, because I guess it's your fault that they kidnapped you. I'm not gonna lie, this game is really weird. But it's okay, because you play the babies like a guitar and they go to bed, I guess. So after the caterpillar tells you to look for the Gummy Bear album coming November 13th.
Listen, look for the Gummy Bear album in stores on November 13th, with lots of music, videos, and extras.
She gives you a thing, and then you start making your way to the airport, where you are forced to pilot an airplane, because the pilot is bipolar and is also sustaining a head injury. Lammy has absolutely no experience in this, but she decides to take her chances of being classed as a terrorist just for this concert. And you somehow manage to fly this plane with absolutely no experience, and then murder a bunch of people, but then you realize, oh no, you forgot your guitar. But luckily there's a guitar shop right next to the massacre you have just created. But he has no guitars, so you go out to make one. And after the pain that is this level, we'll get to that later, you get this really cool little guitar. But then you go to hell, or the tropics if you're playing on a US copy of the game, where you play the guitar for a weird little alien thing. And after absolutely jamming, she teleports you to your concert, and you rock out. But this is just a brief idea of the story. Let me tell you a little bit more about the levels individually. So the first level, as previously mentioned, is pretty easy. It's not too hard. It's pretty much like the tutorial. There is no real tutorial of the game, but there's nothing to really talk about here. Then you move on to stage 2, Fire Fire, where you sing a song about putting out fire with Chief Puddle. This stage also isn't way too bad. Some notes are a bit inconsistent, but the song itself is syncing pretty good to the music, so it's not too bad. I had a bit of trouble with this level, but it wasn't anything too bad. I failed a couple times, but then when I did fail, it felt like it was my fault, and passing the level did feel pretty gratifying. Stage 3 is a bit weird with the story, with the level being named baby baby. I think I'm noticing a naming pattern here. Well, the music for this section is pretty good. Too bad the gameplay is absolutely cancer. I don't like these parts in these types of games, where there are a bunch of notes way too close to each other, as it feels like if you accidentally push the button one too many times, the whole line is just thrown. It kind of felt a bit tedious at times, as I kept failing this level a ton, so I had to listen to and play the level many times. The song is the only thing that made me keep playing, as the level begins to get boring after a while because you just keep doing the same thing over and over again. Failing, and then failing, over and over again. It gets a bit draining, but it's nowhere near the hardest or worst level in the game, but we're getting there. Flight Fright being the fourth section of the game feels like a relatively good midpoint. The music is fucking jammin', actually my favorite song in the entire game, and the gameplay is actually kind of fun, as there's a good combination of all buttons being used, and the syncing isn't shite, as where the notes are on the board is actually where you press the button. So the level was relatively easy, at least during my playthrough. This was my favorite stage of the game. I don't got much bad to say about it. Like, I guess some of the guitar parts sound a bit awkward, but it happens to all the songs, so I can't hold too much of a grudge against it. After playing the best stage in the game, in my opinion, you get thrown into a pit full of fire ants and barbed wire. Power off, power on is the worst level in the game, and I kind of have a vendetta, as I kept failing the level on literally the last line, over and over again. I thought Cheap Cheap Chicken was bad from Parappa, but that fucking pales in comparison to this shit. My ears were going to fall off if I had to listen to this song one more fucking time. I hate this song. The level felt like shit to play, the notes were not in sync, they didn't match where they were on the board, there was a bunch of really awkward timing, the level just wasn't fun. I actually hated this stage, and when playing the level, the guitar sounds so bad and awkward in the song, making it even worse. And the game over screen was just really annoying and frustratingly long. I was so glad to get off of this level. Fucking stupid ass gopher beaver looking shit. Anything is better than power on, power off. Even the penultimate level of the game, Taste of Teriyaki, was fun. Nothing too memorable, but at least the level wasn't bullshit. Gameplay was fair but difficult. When I failed, it was because I actually made a mistake, not because the game felt like I did, which was nice for a change. Good level, weird ass music, but a good level. The final level of Jammer Lammy follows into the footsteps of its predecessor. The last level was probably the easiest level in the game. Notes on time, songs synced nicely. All in all, pretty good level. Not just because it was easy. This was pretty much like a relief state from the game. You finally got through the game, have a little fun. After you finish the final level of Lammy's section, you unlock being able to play as Parappa, where you get to go through the game rapping instead of slapping. There's also a multiplayer where you play as Lammy or Rammy depending on first and second player. Parappa's section is pretty much the same as Lammy's, you just kind of copy-paste what the teacher is saying, and then he says it. Well, you have the option to go through it if you hate yourself. Jammer Lammy is a good game. It's hard, it's unfair, but just like all of Nana Onsha's games, it's very unique. It's not perfect, I have a lot of gripes, but I enjoyed playing it. It beats you down until you overcome its obstacles or give up, but I'm okay with that, and I hope that I'll see all of you in the next one. Peace.